Good morning. So, I would like to make a new series about drills. So, what I mean by drills is that I'm going to create a fixed set of questions which you are going to try and answer, and I will answer, and then we're going to rationalize it together. Okay? Of course, I'll give you a reasonable amount of time to answer it, but the purpose of this series is for your preparation for a qualifying exam for being an English major, or maybe a pre-board examination, or for the board exam itself. Regardless, no, these drills will be useful in your journey as an English major. So our topic is going to be about English for now. Okay, so let's proceed. Which of the following best defines linguistics? Now, in order for us to understand muna, so time out muna. Let me speak. In order for us to understand the anatomy of a question, a multiple choice question, we have to understand muna kung saan to gawa-gawa. Let's dissect it. Of course, we have the principal, which is the question itself. Principal, this is the main problem. Which of the following best defines linguistics? So the main problem is best defines linguistics. And then we have, of course, four options. Ganun naman yan. Four options. Each option will try to distract you from the proper and most accurate answer. So, ang tawag natin sa tatlong options na mali are distractors. So, what do we do with distractors, diba? What we do with distractors is we ignore them. And how can we ignore them? We're going to erase them out of the question. So if bibigyan kayo ng opportunity or ng chance na babuyin yung test paper nyo, what I mean by that is pwede nyong drawingan yung test paper nyo, pwede nyong guhitan or whatever, do so. Do so para hindi ka malito. So let's analyze each question. Sorry, let's analyze each option. So which of the following best defines linguistics? Let's start with letter A. So according to A, this is the scientific study of language. Oh, tama, 'di ba? Dito pa lang, that sounds correct. As a system of arbitrary signs. Okay? So far, this sentence is actually very accurate to the definition of linguistics. However, if we're gonna proceed with the next sentence, focusing exclusively on grammar. Ganun ba yun? Paano naman yung phonetics and phonology? Paano naman yung pragmatics and semantics? Is linguistics exclusive to grammar and sentences? Obviously, no. Therefore, A is incorrect. So, pansin nyo kung paano ako magsagot. Ginuhitan ko to, binilugan ko yung pinaka sinasabi exclusively, tas ano yung exclusively na yun, ginuhitan ko rin. So, dito pa lang, inanalyze ko na yung entire option. Of course, no, if you're doing this, this is time consuming, but this is the best way for you to ensure that your answer is going to be accurate without a doubt. Accurate without a doubt. Right, so letter A is obviously incorrect. Now, let's proceed with letter C. According to letter C, this is the descriptive and prescriptive study of language. Dito pa lang mali na. What do we mean by descriptive? Descriptive is the actual use of the language. Prescriptive naman is the proper use of a language. Ganun ba yun? Ayun, no? It forms to aim and establishing rules for correct usage across different speech communities. Ganun ba yun? Is linguistics secluded to the study of how the language is being used and what is the proper way of using it? Ganun lang ba ang linguistics? Diba hindi? Now, let's go naman with letter D. The cognitive exploration, dito pa lang, it secludes linguistics to psychology lang. Yun na yun. It reflects thought process primarily. Is language or linguistics primarily concerned with mental representations rather than observable linguistics patterns? Paano naman yung phonetics? Observable din naman yun, di ba? O, in particular, yung auditory phonetics yung acoustic phonetics. So, dito pa lang, C and D, Charlie and Dog and Alpha are incorrect. Now, let's observe. Observe naman natin yung letter B. Sorry kung naririnig yung asa. Medyo maingay dito. I'll try to, aside from investing in a good mouse. I'll try to invest in a good noise cancellation headset as well. Kasi itong headset ko, mula nung nasa call center pa ako, which is actually very good. Pero malakas yung sakop niya na sounds. So where are we? Let's go back to letter B, no? B. It is the interdisciplinary analysis of language. Oh, dito pa lang ang ganda na ng sagot eh. Interdisciplinary. When we say interdisciplinary, iba't ibang disiplina. So we have phonetics, phonology, we have semantics, psycholinguistics, we have sociolinguistics. Ang dami. That examines its structure, meaning, and use. Oh, kinum kinumpleto niya yung trilogy. Structure, meaning, and use. Including phonology, morphology. Sinabi niya pa dito yung OG ng mga linguistic branches. So, which of the following best defines linguistics? Although all of them defines linguistics to their best extent, ang pinaka-best definition out of all four is going to be letter B. So if your answer is B, this is correct. Let's proceed with this. So when we say phonetics and phonology, ito yung branches of linguistics, di ba? So when we say phonetics and phonology, this discusses about sounds, whereas syntax and morphology naman is about form. And pragmatics and semantics is about meaning or context. So isa-isay natin. Phonetics, this is basically the study of speech, how it is produced and where it is produced in our articulators. Whereas phonology naman is the study of the speech of the language itself, yung tunog ng lingwahe. Okay, for example, what makes French pronunciation different from English pronunciation in terms of its phonemes. Morphology naman is the structure of the word itself, how the word is produced. And then we have syntax naman is how the sentence is produced. It is a combination of phrases which produces clauses and a combination of clauses which produces different sentences. So, of course, a phrase will not be produced kung wala naman tayong words. So, equally important talaga yung syntax and morphology. And of course, words will not be produced kung wala po itong phonemes, which is yung the individual sounds of the word, which are, isipin mo by logic yung letters, pero magkaiba yun, okay? Huwag niyong isipin na ang letters at sounds parehas, dahil magkaiba yun. For example, 'di ba? Mula nung bata tayo, laging sinasabi sa atin na na the longest English word without a vowel is rhythm. Rhythm, 'di ba? If you're gonna spell that rhythm, wala nga vowel kasi a, e, i, o, u. Wala doon yung a, e, i, o, u. But pag sinabi nating vowel, it's sound. It's the sound itself. So there is a vowel in rhythm, which is yung rhythm. 'Di ba? So don't look at the letters, look at the sounds. Yun yung makikita mo sa phonology. Now we have semantics and pragmatics. What we have for semantics and pragmatics is obviously the context. So mamaya or later on in the series, gagawan ko to ng mas deeper na explanation. Okay? Kasi malawak din tong dalawang to. But for now, what I want you to understand is that when we say semantics, this is the literal meaning. Literal meaning, whereas pragmatics naman is context. Okay, for example, if you say blue, blue. Ano ba yung meaning ng blue? Blue is a color, 'di ba? It's a hue of color. It's a primary color. But primary color ba yung blue? Oh my god, this is basic knowledge. This is supposed to be basic knowledge. I forgot. But anyway, blue, yes, I'm gonna say na blue is a primary color. Pero kasi may advance pa eh, di ba? Yung no. I'm being stupid right now. Basta, di ba, blue, red, and yellow yan. Okay? So, blue is a primary color. I'm gonna stick to that. So, sa mga, ano dyan, sa mga arts major dyan, I'm really, really sorry. Okay? Alright, so blue. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng blue? Logically speaking, it's a color. But, may meaning pa yan, di ba? May meaning pa yan. Blue also represents sadness, depression. 'Di ba? Kaya nga lagi nila sasabi, I'm feeling blue. I'm feeling blue. 'Di ba? So, yun ang mga interesting things na dinidiscuss sa pragmatics and semantics. Now, let's go with number two. Which of the following best distinguishes descriptive linguistics from prescriptive linguistics? Now, generally speaking, no, when we use descriptive and prescriptive sa usapang linguistics is actually about grammar. Descriptive grammar, prescriptive grammar. Ganun yon. So, minsan kasi no, may ma-encounter kayong different definitions lang but you just have to understand what is the closest to the context or what is the closest to your knowledge. So, descriptive and prescriptive linguistics is synonymous to descriptive and prescriptive grammar. So, let's have a look. Letter A, is it A, B, C, or D? Let's take your time. Kayo naman sumagot. Na-discuss ko to kanina. Okay, five, four, three, two, one. Let's analyze, okay? So when we say descriptive, we're looking at the way kung paano talaga ginagamit yung language on a day-to-day basis. For example, yung word na slay, 'di ba? Yung word na slay, semantically speaking, ay ibig sabihin ng slay is to kill someone or an animal or a monster, preferably a monster. Usually ginagamit natin yung word na slay sa mga monsters or sa mga beasts, 'di ba? Napatay mo 'yan. For example, Hercules slayed the lion, 'di ba? Pero in today's context, pag sinabi nating slay, it's a compliment, 'di ba? For example, your dress is slay, girl, your slay, 'di ba? It becomes like that. So therefore, in terms of prescriptive language, slay originally means to kill something, but descriptively speaking, in a day-to-day basis, we're defying that term. Rather, ginagamit natin siya in a different way, which is to be a compliment. So, in terms of descriptive linguistics, when we say descriptive, kung paano talaga ginagamit yung language realistically araw-araw. Realistically. Whereby, pag sinabi naman natin prescriptive, it discusses about the proper according to the rules of the language. So, let's look at letter A. Descriptive linguistics establishes formal rules. O, dito pa lang, mali na. Baliktad to. Mali na yan. Let's ignore letter A agad. Whereas prescriptive linguistics analyzes how language naturally evolves over time. Though this is mali because this is not the evolution of language. Okay? So, i-discuss ko yun in the future. Yun yung mga tinatawag nating diachronic and synchronic linguistics. Okay, letter B naman. Descriptive linguistics observes and analyzes how language is actually used. Oh, this is correct. While prescriptive linguistics attempts to regulate and standardize language use. Oh, this is also correct. So for me, the best answer is letter B. But let's not be complacent. Huwag tayong magpakampante. Let's check the other options. Kasi ang tanong dito, which of the following best distinguishes? So just because letter B is accurate, it defines descriptive and prescriptive linguistics correctly, we're not going to be complacent and hindi na natin babasahin yung C and D. Let's still read C and D. So C, descriptive linguistics focuses only on spoken language. Oh, once again, this is incorrect. Okay? Because linguistics nga, when we say linguistics, pwedeng language yan and language is either spoken or written. So, dito pa lang mali na. Descriptive linguistics studies historical language. Actually, mali na naman to. So, obviously, the correct answer is letter B. Pero nga, tulad ng sinabi ko, let's not be complacent. Just because you found the most accurate answer, it does not mean that it is the best. Okay? Just because it's accurate doesn't mean it is the best. So, basahin mo pa rin lahat. Descriptive versus prescriptive, once again, descriptive refers to the objective study of how language is actually used by speakers in real context. Now, in terms naman sa descriptive, no, oo, if we're gonna look at the grammatical settings of descriptive linguistics, hindi siya masyadong strict. Kumbaga, mas lenient siya. For example, no, ano ba yung tamang spelling for cousin? 'Di ba? Ang tamang spelling for cousin is Cousin. So, according to the rules of spelling, ganyan ang spelling ng cousin. But in terms of descriptive grammar, sabi ko nga, hindi siya sobrang strict sa... Sorry. In terms of descriptive... Sorry, nalilito ako ngayon. Na may mental block ako, okay? Kakagising ko lang. Again, ang tamang spelling is cousin. In terms of prescriptive grammar, ganyan ang spelling yan. But in terms of descriptive, Sabi ko nga, hindi siya ganun ka-strict. Mas lenient siya. So therefore, pwede mo siyang i-spell as k. 'Di ba? If you're gonna look at the Discord community or yung black community sa Amerika, pag gumagamit sila ng communication, it's gonna be, hey, or cuz. Diba? So, descriptively speaking, nababago yung paggamit ng language, pero yun talaga yung, yun talaga yung objective use kung paano siya nakikita araw-araw. It's based on evidence. Whereas prescriptive grammar naman is setting the rules or norms. So, standardize yung English. Basically, ito yung tinuturo sa'yo mula nung elementary ka. Sinasabi dito na ang verb nasa gitna yan ng subject and ng object. Hindi pwedeng yung object nasa gitna kasi ibang sentence pattern na yon which is nag-exist sa ibang language, not in English. Na dapat mauuna muna yung adjective bago yung noun. Beautiful boy, hindi boy beautiful. Gets? So, yan ang mga bagay na dinidiscuss sa prescriptive grammar. Okay? Alright, so number three, which branch of linguistics is primarily concerned with the rules governing the internal structure of words? Internal structure of words, including the formation and modification of morphemes. So, para makasave ng time, di ba lagi ko sinasabi kanina pa na analyze each option. But, ang mga tawag sa gantong tanong kasi, giveaway questions tawag dito. When we say giveaway questions, the questionnaire is intentionally trying to give you the points. The questionnaire is trying to give you points intentionally. So, wag na kayo masyadong magsayang ng oras dito. The correct answer is morphology. Di ba? Ganun lang kadali. Nakita mo yung tamang sagot, wag mo nang i-overthink. Proceed with the answer with confidence. Magpo-proceed lang kayo sa sinasabi ko kaninang approach na analyze each option kung mahaba yung tanong or kung hindi ka sigurado sa tanong. Okay? So the correct answer is morphology, internal structure of words, including formation and modification of morphemes. Now, what makes morphology different from syntax? As I said earlier, morphology is the structure of words, whereby syntax is the structure of how words are arranged to structure phrases and sentences. So in short, pag sinabi nating morphology, exclusive lang talaga siya sa words, whereby syntax more on combination of words to form phrases which forms sentences. Which of the following best defines a morpheme? O yan, morpheme. So let's analyze, no? Pause mo muna yung video or wait for my answer. Okay, time is up. Let's analyze. What is a morpheme? A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning that cannot be further divided. Smallest unit of meaning that cannot further be divided. So letter A, the smallest unit of sound, mali. Because the smallest unit of sound is actually a phoneme. Phoneme yun. So it will fall under the discussion of phonology. B, the minimal unit of grammatical structure that can function independently as a word in a sentence. If you're gonna look at letter B, no, this actually looks correct. Minimal unit of grammatical structure. So, this is correct. Sabi ko nga, it is, some options are accurate but it does not necessarily mean na yan na yung pinakatama. Okay? So let's have a look at letter C. The smallest meaningful unit in a language. Okay, this is also correct. This is also correct. That cannot be further divided without, oh, this is also correct. So even though letter B is correct and letter C is correct, alin dito yung best definition? Obviously, we're gonna lean towards the latter, which is C. Now, let's proceed with D. A unit of language that represents a complete idea and typically consists, oh, this is a sentence, so mali ang letter D. Because D is the definition of a sentence. So, the most accurate answer amongst the four, amongst all options, is going to be letter C. So, if your answer is C, this is correct. So, ano ba ibig sabihin ng morpheme? Di ba nga, let's look at the definition. Smallest meaningful unit in a language that cannot be further divided without losing its meaning or grammatical function. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo na siya pwedeng i-divide pa or paliitin pa. Yan yung pinakamaliit niya. So, we have this word adorable. Pwede ba natin ito paliitin? Yes. Let us divide it this in this way. Diba? We have adore and able. So adore has its meaning, which is to admire something or someone. And we have able naman, which is a suffix na pwede mong idikit sa isang bagay, which means ang ibig sabihin ng able is to allow something to function, 'di ba? So if you connect these two morphemes together, adorable, it means na the word itself parang nagkakaroon siya ng meaning na paano ko ba i-describe yung adorable? Adorable means that something can be admired. It is adorable. 'Di ba? Something that can be admired. It is adorable. Pero ang point ko dito, class, is 'di ba itong word na to pwede mong i-divide into two. So we have two morphemes. We have adore and able. But pwede pa bang i-divide yung adore? Meron pa ba itong pwedeng iliit? Pag tinanggal mo yung A at naging door na lang siya, D-O-R-E, may meaning ba yun? Obviously, wala. Pag naman ni-remove mo yung A tsaka D, naging O-R-E, you would argue na may meaning yun na, or, parang sa Minecraft na or, parang ano yan, this is a mineral. Yes, you would argue na may meaning yan. But, on its own, mutually connected kasi yung word na adore. Mutually connected yung word na adore. Kumbaga, hindi mag-exist yung word na adore without a connection. Yung word na or, yan, ibig sabihin yan minerals. Kung titingnan mo yung iron ore, gold ore sa Minecraft, may meaning yan on its own. But hindi siya connected sa word na adore. Itong word na adore, it would not exist kung hindi mo ididikit siya sa spelling na O-R-N-E. Okay? So, hindi mo na pwedeng i-divide yung adore. How about yung able? Pwede mo bang siyang gawing A tsaka bilang, AB? Di ba hindi? LE, hindi rin. O kaya AB tapos space LE, pwede ba? Hindi rin. It cannot be further divided. So in this word, we have two morphemes, which is adorable. How about in this word, ilan yung ating morphemes? We have three, di ba? We have un, and we have ness, and then we have the root word, which is happy. So itong I, gawin mo lang tong Y, di ba? So we have three morphemes here. Pero class, no, wag kayong, ang pinakamali kasi na ginagawa kadalasan ng mga first year English majors is that pag sinabing morpheme, akala nila syllable. When we say syllable, this is a combination of a vowel and a consonant together. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng syllable. This is not a syllable. Walang syllable dito. Okay? Unhappiness. Ay, sorry. May syllable dito, pero wag niyo titingnan kasi yung syllable. Ang titingnan niyo dito is yung meaningful words. For example, itong this is a prefix. Pwede mo ba siyang gawing U tsaka N? On their own, walang meaning yun, di ba? So, you cannot further divide that. Itong happy, pag dinivide mo yan, hap at saka P, will it have meaningful words? Wala. Because yan na yung pinaka-definition niya. So, therefore, in this word, unhappiness, we have three morphemes. Now, there are two kinds of morphemes. We have free morphemes and then we have bound morphemes. O, binibigyan ko na kayo ng review, di ba? Sa morphology to. When we say free morphemes, it can stand alone. Other terms of free morpheme is root word. And then we have bound morphemes. Other term dyan is affixes. So if you're gonna look at it, no, book, run, happy, yan na yung smallest unit of their meanings. Hindi mo na pwedeng i-divide yan. Ang bound morpheme naman, may meaning din yung mga yan, pero it cannot stand alone. Kailangan idikit mo siya sa isang free morpheme. And there are two kinds of bound morpheme. We have inflectional morpheme and derivational morpheme. Ang tatandaan mo lang, pag inflectional morpheme, yung letter I, hindi, magbabago. Tandaan nyo, okay? When we say inflectional morpheme, hindi. From the letter I, hindi, magbabago. Obviously, pag sinabi naman nating derivational, in opposition siya, which is mababago. So what do we mean by that? Okay, let's look at the word walk. Walk is a verb. Nilagyan mo siya ng bound morpheme na ed. Walked. Naging past tense. Am I correct to say that the word walk is a verb, and when you connected it with the bound morpheme ed, the word is still a verb? Correct? Punta naman tayo sa cat. Cat is a noun. If you add the letter S or the bound morpheme S, it becomes plural. Am I correct to say that the cat is a noun, and if you add the plural or the bound morpheme S, it is still a noun? So therefore, walang nabago. It is inflectional. Okay? So, Hindi mababago yung kanyang grammatical category. It will just add more information such as tense, number, possession, or comparison. Whereas derivational morpheme naman, mababago talaga entirely yung kanyang part of speech. For example, happy, happy is an adjective. If you add ness into it, it becomes a noun. The happiness, diba? It becomes a noun. Teach is a verb. If you add the bound morpheme into the word teach, it becomes teacher. Therefore, the verb becomes a noun. So, derivational na bago. Once again, inflectional, hindi magbabago. Derivational, magbabago. Voice. Okay, nilagyan mo ng S. Oh, is it inflectional or derivational? Obviously, it's inflectional. Adorable, inflectional or derivational? Obviously, it's going to be derivational. Because adore is a verb. If you add able to it, it becomes an adjective. All right. So number five, which type of word formation involves creating a new word by combining two root words? Okay, combining two root words. For example, ang ating root word is camp. Camp as in campo. Yan, 'di ba? This is a root word, this is a free morpheme. Tapos dinagdagan natin siya ng another root word which is fire. So what would be our type of word formation? The correct answer is going to be compounding. Naalala niyo ba yung compound nouns? So when we say compounding, it means you're going to add two root words. So ano ba yung difference ng back formation, blending, clipping? So these are the types of word formations. When we say word formation, paano nabubuo ang isang word? So maraming ways para makabuo ng word. We have coinage. Ito yung easiest. When we say coinage, we are creating entirely new words. Well, technically, you would argue na lahat naman ng words inimbento. Pero when we say kasi coinage, hindi siya pinagbasehan sa isang bagay. Usually kasi ang mga words na ang language natin ngayon, it came from historical languages. Okay? It came from historical languages. For example, yung word na communication. Communication, T-I-O-N, matitreat mo siya na galing siya sa sion, which is French. And then galing pa yun sa Latin, which is communicare, yun. So, ang mga words natin ngayon, it evolved from created words. Pero pag sinabi natin coinage, literal na ginawa siyang word on the spot. So, ang famous examples niyan ay Kleenex, Xerox, and Google. These are invented words. Okay? So, often sa mga brand names nga yan. Okay? For example, Jollibee. And now we have compounding. When we say compounding, you're going to compound or you're going to combine two independent words to form a new word. Take note, wala kang babaguhin na spelling. For example, tooth plus brush equals toothbrush. Di ba wala naman na bago na spelling? Camp plus fire. Campfire, wala naman na bago na spelling. Literal na pinag-combine mo lang. It will matter mamaya. Kasi pag may nabago na spelling, mamaya. Okay, derivation. Pag sinabi naman nating derivation, di ba sabi ko nga kanina, may mababago na compound. Ay, sorry, may mababago na meaning. And mababago yung grammatical category. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na derivational. So if you add prefixes or suffixes to a base of the word, it creates a new word by changing its part of speech. Happy is an adjective. Happiness turns into a noun. Pag sinabi naman natin conversation, zero derivation, hindi siya katulad ng inflection Kasi yung inflectional morpheme, kailangan may idagdag ka pang suffix or affix. In this case, wala ka na kailangan idagdag, pero mababago yung meaning niya. For example, changing a word's parts without adding. Sa example, email, this is a noun. For example, I will send you an email. Pag ginawa mo naman siyang verb, ganito, I will email it to you. So walang nabago na spelling, wala kang dinagdag na suffix or affix, but the meaning itself changed. That's why it's called zero derivation. Zero kasi wala kang dinagdag. Back formation naman, creating a new word by removing what is mistaken as an affix from an existing word. For example, editor, we have the affix tor. Pag tinanggal mo yung tor na yan, or, it will become edit. So editor is a noun, it will turn into a verb. So, ano yung difference ito sa derivation or sa inflectional, no? Ang difference ito is that magdadagdag tayo ng affix. Pag derivation or inflectional, magdadagdag. Pag back formation, we're going to remove. Ito naman yung blending sa sabi ko kanina. If you're going to combine two words together, two independent words together, pero may mababago na spelling kasi nga mag-merge, it's going to be blending. Merging parts of two words to form a new one. Example, smoke plus fog equals smog. Now, other term para sa blending is a French word, portmanteau. Okay? Sorry. Hindi ko pala nasulat dito. Search nyo na lang. Search nyo na lang. Man. Pero baka mali ako ng spelling I hate French spellings. I hate French spelling. O basta yun, portmanteau. Search nyo na lang, other term for blending, portmanteau. And then we have clipping. When we say naman clipping, magkaiba to sa back formation. Kasi sa back formation, if you're going to remove, mababago yung meaning. In clipping, pag nag-remove ka, hindi naman mababago yung meaning. For example, telephone, okay, nag-remove ka ng tele, phone na lang, wala naman na bago na meaning eh. It's still the same meaning. Refrigerator, ginawa mo na lang siyang ref. Di ba ganun ginagawa natin mga Pinoy? Ref or fridge. It's still the same context, same meaning pa rin yun. Binago mo lang yung spelling kasi nag-remove ka ng some parts. And then we have acronym and initialism, forming a word from initial letters of a phrase. Example, NASA. Pero class magkaiba yung yung acronym tsaka initialism. When we say acronym, ang titignan natin dito is kung kaya ba natin siyang i-pronounce as a whole. For example, NASA. Hindi mo naman basa dyan is NASA, di ba? Ang basa mo dyan is NASA. Or let's say pag-ibig, yung government na yung government na branch. Ay, hindi siya government branch. Let's say government agency. Sorry no, as a law student, I feel obliged na i-correct yung sarili ko. Alright, so yung pag-ibig, di ba this is a government agency. Pag-ibig, may, ang basa mo ba doon PAGIBIG? Di ba hindi? How about pag-asa? Di ba ganun din? How about DILG? DILG, di ba ang basa mo dyan is DILG, hindi mo siya binabasa as DILG. How about USA? Di ba ang basa mo dun USA? Hindi siya USA. So pag binabasa mo siya ng tuloy-tuloy, this is an acronym. Pero pag binabasa mo siya letter by letter, it is initialism. And then of course, we have borrowing. Borrowing, adapting words from other languages. Example, ballet from French. So this is another way of forming a word by borrowing. Okay, number 6. Which type of word formation is exemplified by creating a new verb to babysit from the noun baby and the verb sit? Hmm. Ano kaya yung tamang sagot dito? Okay, the correct answer is letter A. Compounding. Di ba sabi ko kanina, pag pinagdikit mo yung dalawang root word tapos wala namang bago sa spelling, hindi siya magiging blending, di ba? It's going to be compounding. No? Baby plus sit. Babysit. Compounding. Number 7, which of the following best describes phonetics? Sa phonetics na tayo. Which of the following best describes phonetics? Letter A, the study of meaning of words. Once again, this is mali because will fall either under pragmatics or semantics. B, the scientific study of speech sounds, including their production, transmission, and perception. So this is actually the best answer, no? Letter B. Pero as I said, huwag tayong magpa-complacent. I-check pa rin natin yung CND. The analysis of how words are formed, keys from morphemes, kakadiscuss ko lang, that's from morphology. The study of rules governing sentence structure, keys, this is syntax. So the correct answer is letter B. Ito yung maraming nalilito eh. What's the difference between phonetics and phonology? Phonetics is the study of speech sounds, whereas phonology naman is the study of how sounds function within a specific language. So, you would argue naman no, na lahat ng tao sa mundo ay may lalamunan. Okay, sige, maging pilosopo tayo. Hindi lahat ng tao may lalamunan, sir. Kasi yung iba may throat cancer, yung iba may sakit. Let's be generic for now. Diba? Species is actually, the human species is actually equipped with the throat. So, phonetically speaking, phonetics is interested kung paano ginagamit ng tao ang throat niya to produce speech sound. Pero kasi ang mga speech sound, hindi lahat ng speech sound ay nag-exist sa mga languages. What do we mean by that? For example, itong clitics rather. When we say clitics, ito yan. Alam niyo yun, yung parang may pinapatunog kayong click sa bunganga mo. So, clicks, pinag-uusapan yun sa phonetics kasi these are speech sounds na napoproduce ng ating bunganga, articulation. Pero, in terms of phonology, yung speech sound na clicks, hindi naman siya nag exist sa English language. Pero nag exist siya sa African languages. So in short class, pag sinabi natin phonetics, it discusses about speech sounds universally. Pag sinabi naman natin phonology, yung mga speech sounds na nag exist in particular sa isang lengguwahe. Okay? Number 8, which of the following describes a stop or a plosive consonant in terms of manner of articulation? O, na-discuss ko to sa isa kong video. I suggest panoorin yun. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is letter A. The correct answer is letter A. A consonant produced by completely blocking airflow. Let's rationalize the other options. A consonant produced by partially obstructing airflow, causing continuous friction. This is a fricative. Fricative. Let's move with letter B. A consonant produced by allowing air to flow over the sides of the tongue. O ano tamang sagot dito? A consonant produced by allowing air to flow over the sides of the tongue. This is... napaproduce mo ba? Okay. So, pero class, naiintindihan niyo ba yung turo ko? Huwag na natin, check nyo lang palagi, i-post nyo na lang yung video para ma-analyze natin yung para ma-analyze yung tanong and then just proceed with the answer. Okay, na I hope naiintindihan nyo, okay? D, a consonant produced with the tongue in a rapid tapping motion against the roof of the mouth. So, plosive ba yun? Diba nga pag sabi natin plosive, may explosion after mong ihinto. Complete blocking airflow. So, the correct answer is C. So, kung babalik tayo sa itsura, ganito yung itsura ng ating tree. Ganito yung itsura ng ating chart. Okay? Now, class, no, yun, kung papanoorin niyo yung video ko about phonetics, makikita nyo na there are some phonemes dito na wala sa video ko. Yung ginamit ko kasi sa video ko na phonetics is about the English language. Ito, may makikita kayo dito na hindi nyo makikita sa ibang sa English language. Makikita nyo sa other languages. Okay? Number 9, which of the following best distinguishes consonants from vowels? Which of the following best distinguishes consonants from vowels? Okay, once again, just pause the video na lang. The correct answer is letter C. The correct answer is letter C. Consonants are produced with significant obstruction of airflow in the vocal tract, while vowels are produced with a relatively open vocal tract allowing free air flow. Pero tandaan nyo, okay? Pag vowels, this is always voiced. Pag consonants naman, pwede siyang voiced, pwede siyang voiceless or unvoiced. Depende kung paano mo ipopronounce or kung anong phoneme yung pinopronounce mo. Look to my video for that. Number 10. Which of the following correctly sequences the major historical stages of the English language? So, pause the video na lang. Okay, the correct answer would be letter C. This is a no-brainer, no? Kailangan mo lang ng logic dito. Hindi mo kailangan maging English major para sagutan yung tanong na to. Obviously, no, mauuna naman talaga yung Old English over Modern English. Yan yung sequence nun. Pero, check nyo pa rin kasi may dalawang distractor. So, obviously, B and D are incorrect. So, magiging tanong na lang dito is A and C. But let's still finish it. Huwag tayong maging complacent. Old English, Middle English, tas Modern English. Di ba nga may distinction yung modern and early modern? So, obviously, or early modern yung mauna by modern. So the correct answer is letter C. So let's have a quick review about the history of the English language. So nagsimula yung languages natin sa Indo-European languages. So diyan galing yung Celtic. So yung mga Celtic sila yung mga unang nakitira sa Britain. May mga nakatira na kasi sa Britain bago yung mga Celtic, pero if we're gonna look at it in terms of the best description na ma-identify natin, Celtics yung mga taong yun. So, Celtics, ang language nila is Proto-Brittonic. So, it's not English. But nung dumating na yung mga Romans, nahaluan na to ng Latin. Okay? So, nahaluan na ng Latin yung Proto-Brittonic. And then, nung dumating naman yung Anglo-Saxons, Jutes and Danes and Frisians, this is the Anglo-Saxon tribes, yung mga Germanic rather. Nahaluan na ng Germanic yung Celtic, Latin. Dito na yung introduction ng ating Old English. And then dumating yung mga Vikings. And then, nung dumating na yung mga Normans, they brought French. So when French was added, we now have Middle English. So tatandaan nyo dito, uh, yung mga tao, yung mga commoners or yung mga normal na tao, they still continue to speak Old English. Tapos yung mga mayayaman naman, yung mga aristocrats, they spoke in French kasi mas social. Okay? But habang tumatagal kasi yun, magkakaroon ng gera ang England at ang France. So therefore, mas naging favorable yung English language kaysa sa French. So, eventually, nag-mix yung dalawang yan and we will have Middle English. And then, in the future, when England would turn into the British Empire and would colonize a huge portion of nations in our world or in our earth, we would have what we call American, Canadian, Australian, British, Irish, Scottish, Indian, English. And of course, dahil sinakop tayo ng Amerika, we would also have Filipino English, which would constitute to what we call modern English. Okay, number 11. Which of the following best describes the primary function of the vocal cords, also known as the vocal folds? Once again, just pause the video. All right. So the correct answer is going to be letter C. They vibrate as air passes through them to produce voiced sounds. Tandaan nyo lang, pag nakasarado ang iyong vocal cords, lalabas ang hangin dyan, and then magva-vibrate. Okay? Pag nakabukas naman, no vibration, kaya nga tawag natin dito ay voiceless sounds. 12. Which of the following best explains how French influenced the English language after the Norman conquest? Oh, nasabi ko na to kanina. Actually, hindi ko masyadong nasabi kanina. Nasabi ko lang na ginagamit siya ng mga aristocrat. Wala na, nasabi ko na yung sagot. So obviously, dahil ito lang yung may aristocrat, the correct answer is letter D. Let's analyze letter A. It introduced a large number of scientific and technical terms, mainly in the field of agriculture and law. That is correct, no? Nagamit nga naman talaga yung French sa law. For example, no, bigyan ko kayo ng law facts, no, as a law student. For example, pour a true, o kaya yung jurisprudence, yung word na jurisprudence, these are French words by origin. Okay? And if we're gonna look naman at letter B, it replaced Old English entirely. No, this is not correct. Kasi nga, how will it replace Old English? Kasi nung dumating yung French, ginagamit pa rin yung Old English ng mga may hirap. Okay? Old English is still used by the poor, whereas yung French ginagamit naman ng mga mayayaman. So ginagamit ito ng king, ng governors, ganun. C, it influenced only English pronunciation. No, hindi lang English pronunciation yung na-influence niya. Nagdagdag din ng words ang French sa English language. For example, lahat ng nag-e-end sa T-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, yan, itong suffix na T-I-O-N, suffix na S-I-O-N, yan, suffix na, hindi naman siya suffix, itong TIC, yung mga words na nag-e-end sa TIC, sige, suffix pala yan. For example, problematic, mathematic, numeric, yan, these are French words. TION, SION, mission, vision, communication, enumeration, socialization, these are also French words. Although some of them can be argued na galing from Latin, still, this is how French influenced English. So it's not just pronunciation. Leaving vocabulary and grammar untouched. So this is obviously incorrect. So the best answer is letter D. It contributed significantly in vocabulary of law, government, art, and aristocratic culture, while English grammar remains largely Germanic. So, ayun. This is the correct answer, D. Okay, number 13. Which of the following best illustrates assimilation in English phonology? O, nasa phonology na tayo, class. So, A. Changing the sound to TD in butter when pronounced quickly as butter. Butter. B. Adding an extra S sound to the end of cats to mark plurality. Or is it C? Stressing the first syllable. So once again, just pause the video. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is going to be letter A. A. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng assimilation? O, pag-usapan na natin. Assimilation, a sound changes to become more like a neighboring sound. More like a neighboring sound. Mababago daw yung sound katulad ng katabi niyang sound. For example, input, input. Ang word natin is input. Tapos magiging input, input, input. So yung N, nagtunog na M. So bakit siya neighboring sound? Kasi yung M tsaka P, what do they have in common? What do they have in common? 'Di ba both of them are both of them are plosives. Sorry, both of them are bilabial. Both of them are bilabial sounds. Ibig sabihin, yung dalawang labi kailangan magdikit. Okay? So, it's similar. Sound changes to become more like a neighboring sound. Input, input. Elision naman, the omission of a sound usually for ease or pronunciation. Omission, when we say omission, ibig sabihin, ignore. Ignore or hindi mo gagawin. For example, instead of saying friendship, friend, may D, di ba? You're just going to say friendship, friendship, friendship. Nilaglag mo yung D. So, ang purpose ng elision is to make the pronunciation easier. So, usually ginagamit to pag mabilisan na yung usapan. The friendship is very, ganon. Linking naman or intrusion. So, pag sinabi nating linking, nagdadagdag ka. Nagdadagdag ka. Adding or maintaining sounds to connect words smoothly. Oh, so instead of saying law and order, you can just say law and order. Law and order. So, pinag-blend mo, di ba? Pinag-blend mo together, law and order. Nililink niya yung R. Law and order. Law and order. So those are the different connected speech processes. Actually, madami pa, pero ito yung common. I want to discuss naman the difference between phoneme and allophone. So when we say phoneme, this is the smallest unit of sound in a language that can change meaning. That can change meaning. Pero tandaan nyo phonemes do not have meaning. Walang meaning ang phonemes. Itong P and B sound, walang meaning yan on their own. Pero if you combine them into a certain set and if you combine them to a certain set of sequences, it will form a meaning. Okay? So, P and B, pat, bat are different phonemes because dahil binago mo yung P and B sa A and T, yan, pat, bat, binago mo lang yung dalawang to, nabago na yung meaning. But on their own, class, tandaan nyo, walang meaning ang phonemes. On their own, individually, walang meaning ang phonemes. But if you connect them together, we have meaning. Diyan napapasok yung morphemes. Pero tandaan nyo, pag sabing phonemes, smallest unit of sound in a language that can change a meaning. Pag sinabi naman nating allophone, a variant of a pronunciation of a phoneme. Variant. So what do we mean by that? Let's have a look at this word, spin. So ang ating phoneme is P, di ba? Ang ating phoneme is P. So when we say allophone, a variation of a phoneme. So in short, a different version of a phoneme. So ang phoneme natin, ang main phoneme natin is P. So ang word natin is spin, spin. So may dalawang way to pronounce spin. It's either spin or spin, spin, spin. It's either, pakinggan nyo mabuti spin, spin, or spin, spin. Ano difference? Parehas silang gumamit ng phoneme na P, pero yung isang phoneme na P is may aspiration. May H, no? Aspiration tawag dyan. Question, nabago ba yung meaning? Di ba hindi? It's still the same word with the same meaning, which is spin. So therefore, the aspirated P is an allophone of the phoneme P. Question. Paano kung may language na it matters kung aspirated or hindi? Kung ganun, kung ganun, tulad sa Nepal language, Nepalese language, it matters kung aspirated or hindi. So, kung ganun, hindi na siya magiging allophone. Kasi in order for us to say na allophone, it must be a variant of a phoneme. But because hindi na siya variant, it's no longer an allophone. Okay? Oh, let's discuss naman morpheme and allomorph. So kung ang morpheme na discuss ko to, smallest meaningful unit in a language, ang allomorph naman tulad ng allophone, this is a variation lang. So for example, ang ating root word is cat. Nilagyan mo siya ng morpheme na S, which is it makes the word cat plural. Tama? Pero agree ba kayo na ang morpheme na S, madami tong ways para maging plural. Like maraming ways to pluralize a word, di ba? So for example, we have we have horses, di ba? This is an allomorph of S. Parehas na ng meaning. It pluralizes a word. Dogs. Okay, itong dogs. Although magkaiba ng pronunciation, it still pluralizes the word. So therefore, itong horses, dogs, or kaya, ano ba ba? Ano pa ba pwede natin pluralize? For example, IES. For example, di ba, berry? Yung word na berry as in cherries or berries, yung mga Y, di ba, to pluralize that, we have to add IES. So these are also allomorphs of the morpheme S. In short, variant lang siya. Variation of a morpheme. Okay, number 14. Which of the following is an example of an elision? Di ba pag sinabi kong elision, you're going to remove. You're going to remove. Okay. Wala pa ng tamang sagot dito. I'm sorry. Walang tamang sagot dito. The correct answer here is letter A. Dapat A. That A to. Handbag dapat. Alisin mo tong D. Handbag dapat yung tamang sagot dito. Okay? So the correct answer is letter A. Okay, number 15. Which of the following best illustrates the arbitrariness of language? Oh. Pag sinabi nating arbitrariness, ano ibig sabihin yan? Sige. Last na muna tong number 15. And then didiscuss ko yung context yan. Pause the video and then I'm going to explain. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is letter A. The word dog has no inherent connection to the animal. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Pag sinabi mong aso at sinabi mong dog, di ba, unang papasok sa isip mo malamang is aso, yung hayop na aso. Pero meron bang batas sa mundo natin na dapat ang tawag mo sa aso ay dog? Di ba wala? Kaya nga different languages use different words for different things. Yan ang ibig sabihin natin for arbitrariness. Kumbaga, pag sinabi nating arbitrary, lahat ng tao nagkasundo na ang tawag natin sa bagay na to is ganto. Okay? Na ang word para sa ganto is ganto. So, ano ba yung properties of language? Let's discuss properties of language. What makes animals different from human communication? What makes animal communication different from human language? Bakit hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na ang mga hayop ay may language? Kasi pag sinabi nating language, this is a system of communication. Ang mga hayop, although meron silang system of communication, it's not as complex as language because wala siyang properties of language. What do we mean by that? Tingnan mo yung buto. Yung buto. Let's say buto ng manok. Kahit iba-ibang aso sa iba't ibang mundo, let's say aso sa Africa, aso sa Philippines, aso sa Germany, aso sa US, di ba itong mga asong to, pag nakakita yan ng chicken bone, it does not care. It does not care kung anong itawag niya dyan. It is a bone. Yun yun. Bone. Pero tayong mga tao, we care about its meaning. So therefore, pag nakita tayo ng buto, pag Pilipino, tawag natin dyan buto. Pag Amerikano, English, ang tawag niyan ay bone. Diba? In other languages, tawag nila doon os. In short, there is no inherent connection between the words and their meanings. Walang inherent connection. Basta na lang nating pinangalanan. Basta na lang natin pinangalanan. For example, dog doesn't naturally resemble a dog. Ano ba itsura ng dog? D-O-G. Tingnan mo yung spelling ng D-O-G. Yung itsura niya, di ba? D. Pag dinodrawing mo yung D, ganyan ba itsura ng aso? Di ba? Obviously, hindi. Once again, pag sinabi nating arbitrariness, napagkasunduan lang natin na ang word na to is para sa gantong bagay. Bakit? Eh wala lang. Ganun lang trip natin. So that is a property of language. Duality naman, language has two levels. Meaningless sounds, di ba? Ito yung mga phonemes. And if you combine the meaningless sounds, you will have meaningful units. For example, the ka, a, and t sound, these are phonemes, so wala siyang meaning on their own. But if you combine them together, duality, you will have what we call cat, a, which makes them meaningful. Kasi word na to, tong cat. O, punta tayo sa aso. I-dissect natin yung tahol ng aso. Roof, 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 roof. Pag roof, 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 roof. Diba? Arf, 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 arf. O sige, let's assume na may phoneme yung mga yun. Yung arf, arf. Walang meaning yun. Pero pag kinumbayan mo together, roof, 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 wala ring meaning. So walang duality ang tahol ng aso. Discreteness. Language is made of separate, distinct units that can be combined in structured ways. So ito nga yung mga sinasabi ko, no? Example, changing one phoneme can change the meaning. Discrete. Pag sinabi nating discrete, it's very specific. Na pag hiniwalay-hiwalay mo yung mga yan, mababago na yung kanyang meaning. So, yun. No? Yung aso, pag tumahol yan, roof, roof, roof. Tapos bigla siyang, roof, 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 roof. Di ba ganun tumahol yung mga yung mga beagle? Tapos yung tahol naman ng ano, ng aspin. O kaya ganito siya, di ba? Tapos pag tapos na siya tumahol. Di ba? It doesn't matter kung ano man yung way ng pronounce niya, kahit iba-ibahin mo yung distinction ng tunog nun, walang meaning yun. Okay, properties of language pa. Productivity, creativity. So, another property of language is that nag-i-evolve ang language. We can create millions and millions, infinite number of new sentences. We can combine them together. Diba? We can create new words, we can create new phrases, and yung mga words na yun, pwede natin baguhin yung meanings, and if we combine them into different sequences, we create multiple sentences, which creates multiple paragraphs. Walang katapusan ang paggamit ng language. Whereas ang mga aso, roof, 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 roof. Arf, 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 arf. Ganun-ganun lang. Hanggang ganun lang ang mga aso. Displacement naman. Another property of language is that ang language pwede mong magamit anywhere. And ang context ng language can be used anytime, anywhere. For example, no? Nakikita mo ba yung Pluto? Gamit mata mo ngayon? Nakikita mo ba yung Pluto? Di ba hindi? Pero, you can discuss about Pluto. The discussion of Pluto is plausible. How about si Jose Rizal? Patay na, di ba? Patay na. Hundreds of years ng patay. Pero you can still discuss about Jose Rizal. How about Captain America? Totoong tao ba si Captain America? Obviously hindi. But you can discuss about Captain America. In short, displacement, language allows you to use, to talk about things in the past, in the present, or in the future, about things na totoo or kahit hindi totoo, or about things na nasa harap mo or kahit wala naman sa lugar mo. That's what we mean by displacement. Whereas ang mga hayop, for example, aso, ang aso, hindi niya kayang explain sa'yo yung trauma niya nung nakaraan. Nakausap mo na ba yung aso mo about sa panganganak niya? Di ba hindi? Titignan ka lang ng aso mo tapos ibe-bend-bend niya yung ulo niya para intindihin ka niya. Pero hindi niya ma-explain sa'yo na pinanganak siya noong February 2, 2002. Hindi niya ma-explain yun, di ba? Hindi niya ma-explain sa'yo na mahal kita, di ba? And then we have cultural transmission. So language is culturally transmitted, whereas ang mga animals naman, genetically transmitted. Oh, what do we mean by that? Ang tuta, pag inalis mo yun sa kanyang nanay na aso, kahit yung tutang yun is hindi napapaligiran ng mga aso, lalaki tong aso na to na marunong tumahol. Eventually, it will learn how to bark. Roof, roof, roof. Kahit walang nagturo niyan, matututo yang tumahol. That's because animal communication is genetically transmitted. Whereas ang tao, ang language, it is culturally transmitted. Ibig sabihin yan, for example, Pilipino ang magulang mo, parehas silang Pilipino. That doesn't mean na automatic magiging matututo kang magsalita ng Pilipino. Paano kung napapaligiran ka ng mga ng mga English speaking na tao, 'di ba? Obviously, you will learn English more than Filipino. That's because language is culturally transmitted. That is why yung mga AFAM, pag pinapalaki nila yung mga anak nila sa mga katulong na Pilipinong yaya, even though American yung mama at papa niya, hindi natututo ng English yung bata ng ganong kaganda. Hindi nagiging native yung English niya. It's going to be a mixture of English and Filipino kasi yung katulong niya is Pinay. And mas lumaki siya sa Pinay. So, natatransmit yung kultura ng Pilipino sa batang yun even though American siya by blood. So, that is a property of language. Alright, so I think we're gonna stop muna from here. Yun muna. I hope marami kayo natutunan. If you have questions, just comment. Comment your questions and I will try to answer them. Okay? So without further ado, bye for now.